social slime, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one leaves countries, laugh to your face, fight and die, cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear, fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one leaves countries, lie to your face, fight and die, cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Okay, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.tv under the banner heading of Game On. We will get it changed someday. Anyways, this is the last day of July. We're celebrating a long weekend up here in Canada. I don't know what's going on stateside. I don't know it's long. I imagine it's a long weekend there. Hopefully it is. Make it the weekend of the long ropes in America. The long ropes and a high tree. And start the procession of hangings of the treasonous dogs who call themselves your leaders. And then we'll do the same up here. But make sure you use hemp rope, eh? It's a better rope, apparently. Anyways, this is getting interesting, this side of the border. Now I've been harassed large over the last few years, maybe, what is it now, 6 years? For one thing I learned is that the powers that be don't give a damn if you out their frauds, as long as you're talking to them, right? When our CAO came to town, our new CAO, he came to town back in around 2010, I guess, somewhere in there. I went and had a meeting with him, and because he came from Sydney, British Columbia, where he was enacting the Agenda 21 program. So I thought I'd go and have a chat with him, and have a recording of it somewhere. But I explained what he was doing, and he tells me he never heard of Agenda 21 before, even though everything he was doing in Sydney, British Columbia was Agenda 21. And so right off the bat, the guy's a liar. And later on, I found out through research that the CAOs, or the city managers, depending where you live, are trained on how to implement Agenda 21. And the actual power of the mayor has been diminished to the point where the mayor only has one vote, just like everybody else. The mayor doesn't have any overarching powers as they had in the past. The CAO is the player, the city manager. And they're the ones that set the agendas, and they're the ones that are trained on how to implement Agenda 21 without you, the poor slave, realizing what the hell is going on. So, it was no problem as long as I was talking again to the powers that be, the mayor, the councilors and stuff like that. But once I started explaining the situation to the staff, the municipal staff, that's when it started to hit the fan. And about the same timeline, I because the municipalities were involved in the amalgamation of our local utilities. And so they brought in this, it was always sold to us on the same purpose. Everything's always sold to us the same way. It's more efficient. It'll probably cost you less because of the efficiencies found and no overlapping and all this kind of crap. It's always, all of these things have always been a scam. And like I said, they always use templates. And once you understand their template use, it gets pretty easy to dig through the nonsense. But same thing with these people. This outfit, it was sold to the public as a private-public or a public-private partnership to benefit the public. But the public, once you do enough digging, turns out to be the corporation that calls itself your government. That's the public interest. And that's whose interest it's in. It's in the corporation's interest. The public says, oh, they're doing it in our interest. Nothing could be further from the truth. They're doing it in their interest. You just don't understand the use of language. That's the problem. Anyways, once I started out in the fraud of this amalgamated electrical system as public-private partnership, which was eventually, when no one was looking, completely privatized. So everything that we paid for just slipped into the hands of a bunch of privateers and their pirates. And all of the programs, all of the legislature was done by your so-called elected officials. So they scammed you. But what I found was when I used to explain the fraud that the CEO of West Ontario Power here was involved in, didn't care. We had some very interesting conversations. I had one conversation with her one time. I said, these are just they're units to, it comes straight out of Enron, really. And besides jamming us for higher and higher electricity rates, it's also going to be used to track our usage, what we're using at what time, when, in the houses. And, she said, well, we're not spying yet. And all you got to do is change the chip out. And what they're going to do is eventually you're going to have a whole bunch of Windows 10 appliances in your homes, which they will be able to monitor. And once they get this nailed the way they want it, they will have control of your air conditioners. Some places already do have control of your air conditioners, your heating systems, so that if they feel that you're using too much electricity at any given time, they actually have the capacity, or will have the capacity, to lower your air conditioning or lower your heat. And so we're losing control of our very homes, and that's no good. But these conversations I have with the CEO and that of West Ontario Power is no big deal. It's contained. It's me and her talking. Same thing again. Once I understood that she was fully aware of the fraud that she was involved in, but was quite happy to be involved in it. And again, remember, the legal system is amoral. These people, these corporate people, have no moral compass. Corporations don't have morals. They can't have morals. And so once I figured out how evil this woman really was, then I went and started speaking to the staff to clue the staff into what they were involved in. Well, again, that's when it hit the fan, right? So for several years, I had police traipsing in and out of here on a pretty regular basis, running shotgun for the electricity distributor, running shotgun for the mayor and the CAO or city manager, trying to get me to submit and shut up. Well, I'm not very submissive. I I'm a guy that likes to deal in reality and truth, and I do not like to see anybody get hurt. Now, if I got to take a beating, so be it, right? I'm up for it, right? But this idea that they beat on me hard enough that I will submit and shut up, well, that ain't ever going to happen. Never happened in the past, ain't going to happen now, and ain't going to happen in the future. So, it's been a bit of a weird ride, but finally, this looks like, because see, we're gonna put a claim in against the police, the hydro company, it's all about, and the municipality, and the judges and the crowns, for all the wrongs that have been foisted upon me and several other people, and but you got to be patient, right? You really got to be patient. I'm a firm believer that you got to allow them enough rope to hang themselves. It's easier to let them hang themselves than trying to beat against a brick wall. So you just keep working with them. You keep talking to them. And you keep getting them into positions where they say something, they go, shit, I wish I hadn't said that. Because we record all this stuff. And so now I guess it's go time. I guess next week we will, or this coming, either this coming week or the week after, we will get a claim put together and go after these guys hard. Now, this is a story here that I actually saw. That's why I go get a coffee Sunday morning. One, I get a walk. And two, it gives me a chance to scan the newspapers quick to see if there's anything interesting going on. Well, the local Owen Sound newspaper, which is the biggest local rural paper we have around here, I saw this headline this morning, and I'm going to go through it. I haven't read it yet, but it certainly caught my attention because it looks now like we're getting what you would call a small army together. Now we're going to have to work with those people. The problem with most people, and I find this very hard to take after all these years, is that most people still are under some kind of deluded belief that if they vote out this party and get a different party, and somehow things are going to change. You got to get that idea out of your freaking head. Okay, up here in Canada, all politicians, all police, all judges, all of these people that have officer of this or ministry of that attached to their names, all of them are classed as employees of the Queen, which means they're employees of the Crown, which means they're employees of the corporation known as Canada. They take that oath to the Queen to serve who? The Queen, the Crown, the corporation. And they tell you that they are your servants. They are not your servants. They're the servants of the Queen, the Crown, the corporation. That's who they take their frickin' oath to. No one can be beholden to two masters. Well, if they're beholden to that master, they certainly can't be beholden to you, can they? That's the first thing people got to get through their heads. First thing you got through your head, you've been lied to since the day you were born. So this idea that this political party or that political party is going to come save your butt is ludicrous. But that's a good excuse for not taking responsibility for what's going on. That's a hell of a good excuse. Well, nothing we can do about it. We'll just wait around and we'll vote them out and vote somebody else in. How's it been working out thus far? Well, it hasn't. Will it work out in the future? Of course not. They're not beholden to you. The whole vote's a complete and total fraud. You vote for a politician, vote for me. I'll fix things. And then once you vote for them, which you really can't, you vote as a proxy for the fictional corporate entity they made up for you, your straw man, whatever the hell you want to call that. But you can't vote because the legal system does not recognize the living, breathing human, or not human, man or woman. I slip that up sometimes because we're not humans. We are men and women. We're not. We didn't evolve from monkeys or apes or a Big Bang or this little amoeba or any of those nonsensical stories. You're a man or a woman, and the legal system, by its very nature, cannot recognize you. So you go out to vote, you vote as a proxy. I know I repeat this all the time, but it's important. You got to get this through your head. You got to understand it. You can't vote. You vote as a proxy for the legal fiction, okay? And the only place you can do a proxy vote is in a corporate setting. So you know it's a corporate. Your country's a corporation, your province is a corporation, your municipality is a corporation, and they are all satellite offices, I guess, of the crown. Which, if you follow history, takes you right back down to those people with the funny fish hats. Down there at that little mile point, what is it, 1.2 miles with really high walls around it? So that's your crown, basically. And you got the crown, which is, again, the lawyers and that. But you're not even participating in this. So anyway, so you get this politician, vote for me, I'll be your hero. So you vote for them, and then immediately after the vote's counted, and you're all happy because your representative got elected, that representative takes an oath to serve the Queen Crown Corporation. Oh, so much for your vote. So much for your vote. But anyways, this is a rural Ontario crisis. I'm so happy to see this particular story. It's taken a long time, but people still don't get what's going on. Rural Ontario in crisis due to high hydro rates, local United Way head says. Now, the United Way is just a deflection or a look over here kind of scenario, a smoke screen, if you will. The United Way knows perfectly well what's going on. But somebody's got to play the good cop, right? Somebody. Anyways, the story goes, let's go through this thing. Soaring hydro rates have created a crisis situation in Ontario that is especially concerning in rural areas like Grey Bruce. Well, I live in Bruce. Says the head of one of the local agencies that is helping people to keep their lights on. Francisca Dobin, executive director of the United Way of Bruce County, or Bruce Grey County, which has released a report on utility assistance provided to households in the region over the past year, pointed to national news reports that, quote, the Ontario Energy Board as saying nearly 60,000 residential customers were disconnected in 2015 from hydro services due to non-payment. That number was confirmed by the Sun-Times Friday. Well, the Sun-Times, the newspaper, is up to their ass in this. They know what's going on. Okay? They've known this forever. The media is just a political arm. That's all it is. It's a political mouthpiece. If we had 30, the story goes on, as a quote, if we had 30 kids in Ontario with measles, we'd have a health crisis. With 60,000 households in Ontario who are disconnected from hydro, that's a crisis. And in rural Ontario, when that disconnection means you can't use your well, that's a public health crisis, unquote, said Francisca in an interview. The local United Way report found that from July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016, the United Way, along with Bruce and Grey counties, Y Housing, and the Salvation Army in Wyerton distributed nearly $750,000 to help people with hydro or natural gas arrears or to purchase wood, oil, or propane to heat their homes. That figure rises to more than 1 million, the report says, when factoring in the staff time and resources provided by the agencies. Dobin said while the number alone is startling and points to a crisis brewing in our region, it doesn't include the financial assistance provided to people by other sources such as churches or other organizations or family members or friends. Well, the churches are all involved in it. The report says electricity costs have climbed by 100% in the past decade. Rural residents have been hardest hit, Dobbin said, because they are charged higher delivery costs by utility companies. Rural residents, on average, pay almost double the delivery rates compared to households in urban high-density areas. Ooh, kind of makes you want to move to a high-density area, doesn't it, to get a lower distribution charge? Kind of smells of Agenda 21, doesn't it? An average household in a low-density area is charged about $84.46 for delivery, distribution, connection, network, and other fees. The report says, while homes in high-density areas pay about $44, and that's without using any energy at all, it says. Homes that use baseboard for heat pay about $80 a month in hydro rates on top delivery fees. And that's before turning on a light or using a microwave or any other source of electricity, Dobbin said. The numbers, she said, show that even when conserving energy in the home, people in rural areas are still facing high monthly hydro bills. Our clients, our families, are not wasteful. They do everything they can to reduce consumption. They unplug everything, and we often advise them to turn breakers off in an effort to reduce their bill. I do that. We crack the breaker off for the hot water tank all the time. Dobbin said that for some families in Grey Bruce who live in geared-to-income housing with baseboard heaters, the cost of hydro is more than the price of rent. See that all the time. People are paying more in the winter for their energy costs than they are for their mortgage payments here. That's coming out of my mouth. Back to the story. The new Ontario Energy Savings Program, which gives qualifying consumers $30 to $50 a month relief, is not enough to prevent disconnections, he says. And where's that $30 to $50 a month coming from? Out of somebody else's pocket. And those disconnections can have far-reaching consequences, she added. Facing or experiencing a disconnection can affect a person's mental health, she said, and cause incredible stress, which can make them sick. That puts a further strain on Ontario's healthcare system and can lead to lost time at work. Dobbin said she has heard from many people who have become obsessed with keeping their energy use low. They frequently check their hydro usage online and unplug devices like coffee makers, microwaves, television, computers right after using them. Dobbin said she would like to see more measures put in place to help reduce hydro costs for rural residents. She would like to see, for example, delivery fees spread evenly among all hydro users in Ontario as it is done in Quebec, so rural residents aren't shouldering such high costs. What we have now is a user pay system, and that's not fair, she said. Conservation programs that actually have an impact can also help, she said, such as those that cover the cost of window replacements and insulation to make homes more energy efficient. However, Dobbin cautioned that hydro conservation has been known to lead to increases in the cost of electricity. For example, the Ontario Energy Board said one of the main reasons for increase to hydro rates last May was because Ontarians consumed less electricity over the recent milder winter. So regulated price plan prices did not recover the full cost of serving the RPP customers. Dobbin said to deal with the income side of energy poverty problems, the province should be doing more to address the issue of precarious work, which refers to jobs that are low pay, part-time, and lack long-term security. The United Way's Utility Assistance Report says the agency provided $254,000 from July 1st, 2015 to June 30th to help households with utility arrears or to buy other sources of heat. Gray County provided $191,000 in assistance, while Bruce County helped out with $94,000. Salvation Army and Wharton $74,000, and Y Housing covered $56,000. The money came from several sources, including the Low Income Energy Assistance Program called LEAP, which is funded by electricity and natural gas companies as mandated by the Ontario Energy Board. The fundraising such as by the United Way to help families buy wood, propane, or oil. Now, the average person reading this story won't have a sweet bejesus clue what they just finished reading. And that's the problem. All of these outfits, the Salvation Army and what's the other, United Way, all of these outfits know what's going on. Okay? They all know what's going on. They're all involved with the United Nations. Okay? They understand the plan. But here they are playing good cop instead of outing the situation for what it is. We got a couple of problems in this story. One is that the wages in particular the rural areas is, and I'm sure it's really getting bad in the cities, is that the wages are nowhere close to keeping up with inflation. You talk to anybody. I mean, I talked to my friends and that when we were young, way young, we had a hell of a lot more disposable income than we got now. Because of inflation. You know, when you sit down and you look at it, back around early 70s, somewhere in there, I could make $10 an hour cash. And so I could buy then, let's see, I did buy then like about a 4-year-old car or something. I could buy them for like $700 easy. A car in good shape. And, you know, just a basic car today is, you know, well, you take a basic vehicle, an average vehicle, right? Not a Louis shitbox puddle drum, but an average vehicle. And it costs you $30,000. Your food bill's gone way up. Your fuel bill's gone through the top. You know, it used to cost me $8 to fill up the car. And now it costs people $60 to fill up the car. You could buy a house in 1970, a new house, for in the range of $30,000. So now you're paying $300,000. So if you look at the increase in because of inflation, my attitude is if you go over it, you know, and you don't have to analyze it too close. But your cost of livings run, you know, between 8 and 10 times what it was back in the day. Which means that you need to be making, at the bare minimum, at the minimum, $60 an hour. Just to stay even with 1970, say. They should be making between $80 and $100 an hour. I'm talking minimum $60 an hour. No wonder why people are struggling. It takes very little increase in something to put somebody in duress anymore. So now people are juggling, you know, do I pay this bill? Do I pay the rent? Do I keep the lights on? Do I feed the kids? I mean, the stress is getting crazy on people. Then you turn around and you have these places. You have the food banks, and you got the places like United Way and the Salvation Army and that play the good cop. They're not the good cops. They're just cops playing the same game. Because up their ass in the fraud. They tell you that in the paper? No. Does United Way tell you that? No. Does the Salvation Army tell you that? No. We're helping people. You're not helping any people. You're lying to them because you're part of the problem. Now, this idea, according to the OEB, the Ontario Energy Board, now this board was put together through the legislature. This board is the one that put in charge of setting the electrical and the gas rates. That's pretty important stuff, this board. But it was legislated to be outside the reach of the very government that created it. Why? Well, then nobody's responsible. The Ministry of Energy doesn't set the rates. The Ministry of Energy can't do anything about the rates. The Ministry of Energy and the Premier of the province and anybody else can make suggestions to the Energy Board, but they can't tell the Energy Board what to do. They can't tell the Energy Board, whoa, these rates are too high. Now, why would they do that? Why would you set up a board that is untouchable by those who created it, in charge of something as important as your hydro and gas rates? Why? Because it's all part of Agenda 21. Is why. And one of the purposes of it is to drive you out of your home. 1976. The Conference on Human Settlements in Vancouver states it very specifically. What's not sustainable? Private property is not sustainable. Simple as that. Private property is a form of social injustice, and therefore all property must be held in the public. And who is the public? The public is the corporation. So we drive people out of their houses. The water rates are going up exponentially. The taxes are going up exponentially. Your fuel rates in your house, your electricity and gas are going up exponentially. Why is that? To drive you from your home. Meanwhile, you got these other outfits like United Way, the newspaper, the Salvation Army, and all these other outfits who are playing good guy or good cop. They're not good cops. They're cops. And what do? They protect the corporation. That's their job. So, all of these people whining and complaining about their hydro bills, I'm glad that 60,000 people got cut off. I'm ecstatic that 60,000 people got cut off. This is like candy to me. This is like winning the frickin' lottery. Now, this idea of conservation. One, you can't conserve energy, right? It's impossible. So you can't conserve energy. It's a simple case of reality. You can make it and use it. You can make it and not use it, or you cannot make it. Those are your choices. You can't conserve electricity. Now, this is a huge scam, right? They're doing the same thing with the water. They want you to use less. It has nothing to do with cost factors or whether we have enough or anything else, or we can produce enough. That's not what it's about. Okay? It's about grinding you down. And how are they going to get you to use less electricity and water? Simple. Price point. Okay? Price point. Every time the usage goes down, the price goes up. Because the investors want their cut. And as Morris Strong and the boys set it up, doesn't matter how much we spend, the end user is the one that's on the hook for the cost. That would be you are on the hook. So the more they spend, the better it is for their program. And the harder you try to conserve, the more the price is going to go up. So you're going to end up using, like their plan is you make everybody use 75% less water and less electricity. But guess what? You still won't be able to afford the price. Okay? People are doing their damnedest to, quote, conserve energy, conserve water. And the more you conserve, the higher the price is going to be per unit. And that's just the way it is. But the OEB itself is the crux of the problem. Now they put it out on all these stories according to the OEB, like the OEB's got nothing to do with it. The OEB sets the frickin' rates. Now, you got to go back to Enron again. This is all Enron scam. This is the manipulation of the energy systems. And all you got to do is go watch that movie or documentary, whatever you call it, the Smartest Guys in the Room, I think it was called, the Enron story. As they blatantly manipulate prices, do shutdowns when they're not required, and anything they can to drive the price up. And who gets hurt? The people. Well, who paid to build these systems? The people. And now you got these pirates ripping you off. So we got to go back to the Morris Strong lingo, right? Who people think this is a, and this is the problem. People never have any background, okay? They call it current affairs for a reason, okay? And it's always a current affair. So what's going on today, it won't be important tomorrow because they'll have new current affairs to keep your brain busy for a day or three, and then there'll be a new current affair. And what was really important 3 days before seems to fall out of eyesight, which is the way they keep you from not looking too hard as to what exactly the hell's going on. But, I mean, this is a really sick game, a sick joke that's being played on the people. I don't give a damn what country you're in. It make no difference. The same game's being played out here because it's the environment. And it's a global problem that can only be solved by a global solution. And who started all this shit? The globalists. And what's it about? It's about them taking control. And people got to wake up to that fact. But I'm going to read this. I did this not too long ago. This is to do with the, where did I put that? This is to do with the our electrical system here. Okay, Morris Strong, who's the head of UNEP, just happened to be over in Kenya, and the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the banking systems and so on and so forth. I mean, if you take a good look at the United Nations, most people, when they think about the United Nations, they think about this outfit that was put together to bring world peace and to go to the aid of those who are being bombed or whatever. Nothing could be further from the truth. Okay? It was set up for world dominance. It was set up for two reasons, the world government and the satanic world religion. It's the whole point of it. But you got to look at the United Nations. The United Nations is a huge spider web to entrap anything, anywhere, all the time. You got the World Bank involved with these guys. The FAO is your food. The WHO is your health. UNESCO is your education. I mean, it just goes on and freaking on and on and on and on. And these people have been working in the background, putting these programs together. And because your country is a member state of the United Nations, you've signed all kinds. You haven't, but there's been all kinds of international agreements, treaties, letters of intent signed. So your so-called representatives who don't represent you, who do represent the crown, who is part of this whole game, and so the UN agendas or the globalist agendas are being implemented into your local areas by your CAOs or city managers, and it is designed to destroy you. And it's doing a pretty good job so far, but it's going to get worse. So I'm really pleased to see there was 60,000 people cut off in rural Ontario, because, I mean, that's just a sweet number. The more people get banged up against the wall, the better. So what you got here is you got this little game going on. So you got the United Way and the Salvation Army and that, who people donate to. Okay, and both those groups are very involved in the United Nations. So those groups raise money through whatever it is they do to raise money. And then that money that you give to the UN and the Salvation Army, which I recommend you don't give it to them, because if you do give it to them, you're just extending the problem here. Because then people still say they don't have to do anything. Right? Well, it's a good thing, the United Way. We've got the United Way and the Salvation Army helping these poor buggers that can't pay their hydro bill. That's just mask. Okay, that's masking the problem. So again, then people say, oh, well, I don't have to worry about this. If I do run in, I can go to these outfits and they can help me out. So you have the people donating to the United Way and the Salvation Army and other groups who then take the money you donated to help the people who can't afford their hydro and gas bills to keep their gas running and their hydro running. Meanwhile, nothing gets solved. The investors in this thing still make their money. Nobody's looking at the problem. The problem is this all came out of the United Nations, tied up with Enron. And the whole idea, I mean, Enron was in this before they went broke. They were into windmills and gas plants, right? Which is exactly what got sold to the people here in Ontario. You know, we got to stop fossil fuels. Some 1,600 people per year in Ontario die as a direct result from the emissions from the coal plants. There's no data to back that up. Just like there's no data that the global temperature is going to raise by 2 degrees Celsius, or whatever number they picked this week. And if we go over that number, the whole place is going to implode. There's no usable data on that. They just make this shit up. And then the papers propagate this shit. And then people believe, oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, give your head a shake and start dealing with the reality of the situation. That would be a big forward movement. So, you know, we have Enron involved in this. You got Morris Strong, who's a Rockefeller boy, who is set up to push the environment movement. And the same guy who said this. I'm going to say it again. What if a small group of world leaders were to conclude that the principal risk to the earth comes from the actions of the rich countries? And if the world is to survive, those rich countries would have to sign an agreement, which they did, reducing their impact on the environment. Will they do it, is the question that these globalists ask themselves, maybe at a Bilderberg table, maybe over a scotch and a cigar, who knows. The group's conclusion is no. The rich countries won't do it. They won't change. So, in order to save the planet, the group decides, isn't the only hope for the planet that the industrialized civilizations collapse? Isn't it our responsibility to bring that about? That was Morris Strong interview in 1992. The same year that Bob Rae, leader of the NDP and the premier of the province in 1992, appoints who? Morris Strong as the CEO and chairman of Ontario Hydro. Morris Strong just happens to be the godfather of Bob Rae. And the rest just plays out. And that was way back in 92. That was P government. Then we had the conservative government. Now we got the liberal government. So who the hell are you going to throw out and replace to save your bacon? There's nobody left. They're all involved in it. So who's going to fix it? The NDP? Don't think so. The conservatives? Not a chance. The liberals? Well, look around. How's it working out for you? Because these people are players, puppets, whatever you want to call them, of the international globalists. Those who want to take control of every aspect of your life. They want you to give up control of all the natural resources on your lands, which has already been basically done. And they want to move you into high-density buildings along the rail track. They want you to give up your personal mode of transportation, your vehicle, your car, your pickup truck. And then they want to give you a guaranteed basic income, which gives you just enough to survive on. And the beauty of that, there's a couple of these guys are always multifaceted. I mean, I got to give them credit, right? I mean, they're pretty sharp guys, just like the smartest guys in the room in the Enron movie. They're pretty smart guys. But anybody can be evil. Okay? Anybody can manipulate somebody. Moral people don't do it because it's not right. Amoral people, psychopaths, sociopaths. And just like corporations have no moral compass. They don't care. They don't give a damn if you can't feed your child. They don't give a damn about you. And this is how we end up in the situation we're in. We have got to start taking some responsibility. When you have this group that has decided that they are going to destroy, in fact, they're going to force the collapse of industrialized civilizations and then say it's their responsibility to do it. Well, look around. It's happening quicker by the day. Do you have any representatives that are stopping it? No. Have you got any representatives telling you the truth? No. So it's time to cut that game loose. Absolutely cut that game loose. You were born into a massive fraud. And now, at their will, at their whim, they are going to destroy your nation. And they're doing a pretty good job of it. Now, what's the deal with Enron? Now, I've probably said this before, but this goes with this story, so we're going to run with it. How's Enron involved in this thing? Well, up to their asses in it. Now, remember that Morris Strong and Al Gore were in business together at one point, and they scammed a shitload of people on that deal as well, and they used government money to do it. So, like, Morris Strong is the head of UNEP, or was head of UNEP, and you've got Al Gore running around about global warming. Now we're getting a carbon tax, of which was the whole plan. So this is a little bit here. So we had the NDP, Bob Rae, appoints his godfather. Now Morris Strong he came out of the Rockefeller Foundation. He also came out of Power Corp. And between the Rockefellers and Power Corp, they were instrumental in pulling the manufacturing companies out of this country and sending them to where? China, where both Rockefeller and Power Corp have been involved with for decades and decades and decades. As Morris Strong said about China, nobody can compete with us because we've got the lowest labor rates on the planet. And this is one of our great Canadians. They put this guy up as a great Canadian. He's a freaking idiot. I'm just getting some Skypes in here. Just bear with me a second. This is a note here. Let me see what it says here. Not only individual electricity consumers will be punished for reducing their consumption, so will municipal corporations like ours, and hence the local taxpayers. Exactly. But this whole thing was set up as a revenue source for the municipal corporations. Now the municipal corporations are going to try to come to the people's aid, just like the Salvation Army or the United Way, and help people to upgrade their homes to make them more energy efficient. And that is a nasty, nasty scam, that one. And I'm going to get into that right now. But that is a nasty scam. That is about wrestling your house away from you because when people get support, they can't even keep their lights on. How the hell are they supposed to upgrade their house? Who's coming to the rescue? The municipality. We will pay for your upgrades. We will pay for you to get a new furnace. We will pay for you to upgrade your windows. We will pay for you to upgrade your insulation. Anything else is required. And that becomes a tax. And the municipality basically takes ownership of your house. And the plan is that the banks and that are going to buy these assets and send them out in the derivatives market. And that'll probably be the beginning of the end of the final crash as far as home ownership goes in this province. So we need to stand up. And we need to start pushing back. then we need to start pushing back very, very hard. But like I said, this number is 60,000 people disconnected from their hydro and their gas. I think that's just the sweetest number I ever heard. Now add a few more zeros and you got, 6 million. You know, back to the Jewish story again, I guess. Maybe they're using the Jewish template again. Only this time it'll be a real number of 6 million. So anyways, what we have here is we've got Jim Wilson, who was the energy minister, I think, in 2001. In the Mike Harris provincial conservative government, and was a central figure in the electrical system scam in Ontario. He just comes in after Bob Rae gets voted out because people were pissed off at the NDP, so then they vote in the Conservatives. There, now we're happy. We got rid of Bob Rae. What a dick. All right, now you got Mike Harris. And this Wilson is the Minister of Energy. Now, the problem is Mr. Wilson and Mr. Harris work closely with Ken Lay and other Enron lobbyists to build an electrical system designed to hurt consumers and businesses. That's the business of Enron, manipulation for profit. So, real quick again, the electrical scam in Ontario started with the Bob Rae NDP government when Maurice Strong, Rae's godfather, broke up Ontario Hydro. The plan there was that the problem with Ontario Hydro, which was the most successful, largest single utility on the frickin' planet, who gave us an extremely low guaranteed price for our electricity, which gave our manufacturers here in Ontario an advantage that they could use. And by having a low, stable electricity price, the companies that had their manufacturing plants here in Ontario were able to offer a basic higher standard of living because of the advantage of the electricity rates. So the idea was that it wasn't working. It had a huge debt. It wasn't working out. So the best way to do this is break it up and make it more efficient, and instead of only having one supplier of electricity, they would bring competition in, which supposedly would make it more efficient, and because of competition would lower our rates even more. Wonderful. God, then our businesses should thrive, and manufacturing should increase, and this is a wonderful game. Wrong, because they lied to you. After all these years, you still only got one place to get your hydro, regardless of this province. Only this time, it's run by a private board that the government created that the government can't tell what to do. If you get ticked off at your electricity provider, you can't go somewhere else. It's not like a telephone company. But that's how it was sold to us. This whole scam was sold to us on the idea of competition. So if you didn't like this provider, you could go there. Well, you can't go there because there's nowhere to go. Now, when they first started up this scam of competition, there was a company they tried this a little bit for a while, and they were doing the spot pricing, which was the Enron template of spot pricing, so people could give you a lower spot price rate. So it's just milking the market. That's all it is. So there was a company startup called Direct Energy, which has thousands upon thousands of complaints on file. And who was the vice president of Direct Energy here in Ontario? Alex Dadson. Alec Dadson. Where'd he come from? Well, he's an Enron lobbyist. Whoa, hold the phone here. Wait a minute. So anyways, that idea of competition didn't work. And too many complaints in that. So then it went back and we ended up with, and the other problem with our hydro system here apparently in Ontario, it was this too centralized. It costs too much to distribute the electricity. There's too much line loss, and so to speak. So what we needed was a system where the electricity was generated more at the local level. Never happened. Another lie. That's how they sold the windmills as well, through local electricity production. Another lie. So anyways, this is the Enron scam. Like I said, Enron was involved in the windmills and the gas plants, and that's what we got here now. We got wind energy backed up by gas plants, and none of that stuff works. Not designed to work. It's designed, what they say, and to destroy, force the industrialized nations to collapse. Oh boy, we're going to get green free electricity. Isn't that wonderful, Martha? No, it's not, because it was a scam. It was a lie. Anyways, here's Alec Dadson, the guy who was the vice president of Direct Energy, in an email. Now, Alex Dadson, I think he may have been moved on now because it's starting to get a little warm over there. But Alex Dadson was the chief operating officer of, yeah, you got it, the OEB, setting the rates for the consumers in a body that the government who created it can't tell it what to do. And there's Alex Dadson, Enron lobbyist, doing the books, basically. So Alex Dadson, a former Enron lobbyist, is the COO at the OEB. The OEB sets the ever-increasing electricity rates you pay and gas prices. So here's a letter dated July the 15th, 2001, a letter from Ken Lay of Enron to Energy Minister Wilson. Now, what is the Energy Minister of Ontario doing talking to Ken Lay? I mean, if he represents the people. He doesn't. Anyways, the Honorable Jim Wilson, Ministry of Energy, Science and Technology, Hearst Block, 4th floor, 900 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario. Dear Minister Wilson, John Labarato and I would like to thank you, as well as Brian Purchase, Judy Hubbard, and Rick Jennings, for taking the time to meet with us in Toronto on June the 29th. I was pleased to meet you again after your brief visit to Houston and to the Enron building last year, so that would be 2000. John and I particularly appreciated the discussion with you and your colleagues about the opening of the Ontario electricity market. In our view, Ontario is well down the path towards creating an effective, deregulated electricity market. Well, there's nothing deregulated about it. They just moved the holders of the regulation around a little bit, and they took away our assets from us. Anyways, it goes on. We would encourage the government to move forward to market opening in accordance with the market readiness plan adopted earlier this year by the Ontario Energy Board and Independent Electricity Market. Now, the Ontario Energy Board's got who? The COO of the Ontario Energy Board is what? An Enron lobbyist. So we would encourage the government to move forward to the market opening in accordance with the market readiness plan adopted earlier this year by the Ontario Energy Board, of which is basically run by Enron and the Independent Electricity Market operator. We understand that the government has set a deadline of May 2002 for opening the market. From Enron's perspective, now what the hell has Enron's perspective got to do with running the electricity system in a supposedly in a supposed country, in a province that is supposed to be owned by the people, and the servants of the people are supposed to be those elected by the people? What is Enron's perspective got to do with anything? But anyways, from Enron's perspective, we remain confident that the market can and should open earlier than that date. Establishing and adhering to an early market opening date will, in our view, assist the government in ensuring a smooth and successful transition to the new competitive environment. As we discussed in our meeting, the Texas Restructuring Plan highlights the importance of a fixed date in attracting investment capital to the electricity sector. My colleagues and I look forward to continuing our dialogues with the government and in particular with your ministry regarding electricity restructuring and related issues. Again, thank you for the opportunity to meet with you and your colleagues. Yours sincerely, Kenneth Lay, Chairman, Enron Corp., C.C. Brian Purchase, Deputy Minister, Judy Hubert, who is the Assistant Deputy Minister. Now, if this doesn't explain to you that your province is a corporation, I don't know what possibly could. These are two corporations doing business with each other. That's what it is. Otherwise, these guys would be in jail by now. But then most people don't know anything about it. Now, here's a letter from Ali Dadson, formerly of Enron, now the Vice President of Direct Energy, and now COO of the OEB. From Ali Dadson at Enron.com to Richard Shapiro at Enron.com. Subject, Ken Lay, John Laverette, briefing material. Date, June 7th, 2001. Yada, yada, yada. Geez, I almost feel like that guy at WikiLeaks, eh? Releasing emails. I didn't get them from WikiLeaks. I dug this shit out myself. For your information, forwarded by Ali Dadson, 0607 of 2001, 1 p.m. Subject, Ken Lay, John Lavaretto, briefing material. Have attached the following, a high-level outline of the speaking points for Ken Lay and John Lavaretto for their meeting with Premier Harris and, I hope, Wilson, Purchase, and Hubert. And B, a more detailed briefing note which outlines 1, key developments since April the 4th, 2, our position regarding market opening and the key issues that have been raised against opening the market this fall, and 3, differences between California and Ontario, and 4, Enron's assessment of the possible difficulties in New York this summer. I'm awaiting material from Houston to complete the piece on New York City. One piece that I think needs to be added to the detailed briefing note is an overview of Enron's current commercial position in Ontario, i.e. the renegotiation of the BE contract and the likelihood of pursuing a retail initiative. You will see where I have left space for that piece, hoping that you could draft it. I have endeavored in the outline of the speaking points to focus on what we know the key issues, concerns for the government are at this stage. I have asked Sasha Jacob to provide us with profiles of Harris, Wilson, Purchase, and Hubert to include in the final briefing packages. I have prepared the material on the assumption that the best use of the meeting time, likely 45 minutes with Harris and 60 minutes with Wilson, is to make the case for proceeding with market opening this fall. This fall. Okay. So here we have a situation where we have a independent company called Enron completely involved up here in our electricity system in Ontario. And Enron's making the proposals to get the government to accept Enron's proposals to run our electricity system. Now that's fraud. These people in the government do not have the capacity, if they're a government, to be running to a different country without notification to the people about what's going on. These are just corporate players. These are international corporate players, is what it is. Let's see what else we got in here in these emails. Let's see, 45 minutes for Wilson. And OEB reports regarding market readiness are positive. B, to provide Harris with our perspective on developments in the United States, particularly New York and California, about which the government may have continuing concerns. No kidding. This was taking place at the same time that California was being taken apart by Enron. So, about which the government may have continuing concerns. Apparently not. C, to ask Harris what we can do to help the government move forward to a market opening this year. Let's see. Rick Shapiro left me a voicemail indicating that the Lavaretto and he had spoken about the visit and the supporting material. The agreement between the two of them is evidently that Rob, you and I are all to be comfortable with the briefing material before sending it to John, who will then review it and process any changes he feels are necessary before it is forwarded to Ken Lay. I would appreciate your questions, comments, and suggestions. Ali Dadson. Proposed agenda. Here we have a Ontario Market Opening Conference Call, April the 12th, 2001, Toronto, 10 a.m., Houston, 9 a.m. 1. Where are we regarding market opening? What have we done? What are we doing? 3. What to do going forward Ontario market opening initiatives? Regulatory initiatives, ongoing participation on OEB Retail Market Readiness Task Force that define market readiness plan in retail sector. That plan targets retail readiness by early September 2001 and live market operation late October, early November 2001. Board representation and participation on the committee task force that are overseeing and testing commissioning of the independent marketing systems. Ongoing contact with the OEB, IMO, the Price Waterhouse Cooper, key advisors to government on retail market readiness media, onto the media. We have built relationships with key newspapers, in particular the Globe and Mail and National Post. Now, this isn't unlike when the Rothschilds and the boys came after America, and what was the first thing they wanted to do? To get control of I think it was the 25 top newspapers, didn't have radio and television at the time, the 25 top news outlets. Why? To control the message, that's why. And here we have, in 2001, we have the boys building key relationships with key newspapers, in particular the Globe and Mail and the National Post. Virtually all supportive editorial coverage on market opening issue has been the result of our efforts. Columns by regularly in the Globe and Mail and Corican in the National Post. Corican is writing another article on market opening for April 17th. Corican interviewed Ken Lay on April the 4th. Ken Lay is on report on Business TV on April the 4th. Ken Lay's speech broadcast on Rogers Cable and CPAC. Mac Penny appears with message on CBC and TV Ontario regarding market opening. Latest is April the 12th. Estimated reach 280,000 Ontario households on each occasion. Queen's Park contact lobbying. Numerous meetings with key minister and official staff contacts in Premier's office, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Finance, Ontario Superbill, Ministry of Economic Development and Trade, and Ministry of Environment. See the contact list. Core messaging has been on points made in Ken Lee's speech. Develop further message regarding resource adequacy and pricing to address concerns raised by major power consumers about fall opening. Brackets, they have met regarding same with Premier's office, Ministry of Energy, the IMO, Superbuild, further meetings already arranged for Premier's office and finance. Developing further messaging regarding pricing, comparing what bulk power rates would have to be under regulation and what wholesale prices would be under competition, have retained Sebron Adamson / Kevin Welliness to do analysis. Some events that have been arranged for Toronto Board of Trade to adopt our messaging regarding market opening in fall and got them to hold a press conference March the 15th. Ken Lay speech at Board of Trade April 4th. Ken Lay lunch to introduce and press message regarding market opening to three of Premier Harris's key advisors on electricity issues, Bill Farlinger, Jim Bailey, and David Lindsay. Board of Trade events above dovetailed well with parallel on message event by Ontario Hydro, March the 23rd. Going forward, Lay meeting with Premier Harris have been promised proposed dates from Premier's office by this Friday. Attendance at Premier's reception and dinner April 14th, PC fundraiser. Bill Hawkins, key political advisor to the Premier on electricity issue, will be at our table. Minthorpe, Shapiro, DeVries, Dadson, with 4 guests attending. Efforts to get some major industrial customers, consumer groups to side publicly with our message regarding the fall. In brackets, and detail what we are doing in that regard. Identify ways in which we can lever Enron systems to overcome any concern about distributor readiness. I can detail what we are doing, could be doing in that regard. Continue to press independent power producers, Society of Ontario, to mount public advertising campaign comparable to the IPPSA's ads in Alberta. Okay, and they smashed Alberta. I mean, out in Alberta, before I continue on, when they did this, what do we call it? The pricing they did in Alberta when they first tried to open that up was spot pricing. And it got so bad that a lot of the plants in Alberta had to shut their day shifts down and only work night shifts. Or the plants that didn't have a night shift ended up moving from a day shift to a night shift to try to catch lower electricity prices because they were being pummeled by these crazy prices. And that was in Alberta. Meetings with investment banks. Message is regarding importance of early market opening to evaluation of OPG assets. Potential retainer of Tom Long, brackets monitor, and Leslie Noble, bracket Strategy Corp, two key advisors to Premier Harris, brackets again, note, Long had been invited to Ken Lay lunch but could not attend. Noble is a key PC campaign organizer. She may be conflicted because of work for OPG. So there we have a total problem, a conflict of interest, but who cares? She is evidently advising for political reason that market opening should be pushed off until after the next election. Leveraging of U.S. government regulatory bodies, let's see. Enron Canada. Ken Lay addressed a breakfast meeting of the Toronto Board of Trade on Wednesday, April the 4th, as part of the Power Breakfast series. His topic, moving forward with electricity deregulation. Before his speech, Chairman of the Board of Trade commented that this was the best attendance ever at one of their breakfast meetings. After the meeting, Ken Lay spoke with reporters from Reuters, the Globe and Mail, the National Post, Report on Business, TV, emphasizing Enron's commitment to the deregulation of the Ontario power markets. And you wonder why 60,000 people in 2016 got their frickin' hydro cut off. Did I mention hemp rope earlier in the show? I would think that these guys would want us to go and cut all the trees down now, because I think they're going to get a little bit worried about where they're going to be strung up from. Me personally, I just want to put them in the stocks and bring them down to the public square and sell rotten tomatoes and that, and have at these clowns. This is so pathetic. Right in front of our very eyes by our so-called elected representatives, the wish of that group that Maurice Strong was talking about collapsing the industrialized nations, is so far along that even though Maurice Strong is dead and Caden Lay is apparently dead, I don't know either one of them are dead. You know, when Ken Lay died, there wasn't much said about it. When Maurice Strong died, I mean, this guy was everywhere. He was involved with the prime ministers. He was involved with the UN. He ran CETA here, pumping your tax money out to places like Africa and that, where he could get a hold of the money. The guy's everywhere. Yet when he died, he's nowhere. So I'm not even sure if these guys are dead. I'm hoping they're dead because they deserve to be dead. Okay, all right. You have to excuse me. I got a bunch of Skypes going on here. It's taking a boo at them, see what's cooking. Anyways, I also have one other email here, if I can dig it out. And I hope I saved it because I looked that up at once and it was there, and then it was not found. And this one that says not found says, and I had it up here, and it was in another document between Ken Lay and Premier Harris. And I hope I saved it somewhere, because now it comes out, the URL requested is not found. So, when you see something interesting, save it, because I know damn well they're scrubbing stuff because they don't want it out there. Now, I think I said, here's one here. I think it's still working. Okay. Now, this is Friday, June 1st of June, 2001. For your information, in case you were speaking with Bill, this is forwarded by Ali Dadson. And Bill, it looks like Ken Lay will be meeting with the Premier on the afternoon, I guess of the June 19th. I appreciate your assistance in moving this forward. I know that MOEST will likely be called upon to prepare a briefing note for the Premier, but if you think it would be useful for us to talk before the meeting, let me know. For instance, there may be issues that you think the Premier would like to talk to Ken Lay about, such as California and the Bush policy, the Bush emergency policy, etc. Look forward to speaking you. Regards, Alec. And that is, let's see, Canada Corp. 09 Alec Dadson. I don't know exactly. This is kind of coded here. Senior Director, Government Affairs. York Street, Suite, 1100 Toronto. And there's some phone numbers here, so maybe I'll give it a call. And there's the old email for Ali Dadson at enron.com. Now, how does a guy with an email like Ali Dadson, enron.com, end up as the COO of the Ontario Energy Board, which sets our rates? How is that even frickin' possible? It's bloody ridiculous is what it is. Bloody, bloody, bloody ridiculous. But, those 60,000 people, I could start calling them up if I had a list of the 60,000 people that were disconnected from their hydro. And I started explaining this fraud to them. The vast majority of them would put their hands over their ears and not want to hear it. That's the really sick, sad part. I'm just glad. I'm so happy. What are you happy about? What the hell are you happy about? Well, we didn't know what to do, and then the Salvation Army or the other outfit came to our assistance. We're so grateful to those people and those people who donated to these two groups or these 3 or 4 groups that collected money to help us poor people in our time of need. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know anything. I'm a Canadian, and I don't want to know about phony elections. I don't want to hear about Ken Lay and our Premier being involved in it, because all we want to do is vote Kathleen Wynne out, the Liberals, so that we can get the Conservatives back to help straighten this mess out. And you could say, well, read the friggin' emails. I don't want to read the emails. I just want Kathleen Wynne gone. There's a problem. There's our problem. The problem is us. That's who the problem is. The problem's always been us. The problem has always been the people for allowing themselves to be so easily deceived, so constantly deceived. And they get suckered by the good cop, bad cop. But this is a takedown of your nation. And this takedown, you're being taken down by the very same people, the very same organizations They created World War I and World War II. Over 200 million people died during that time. Do you think you got somebody in the government on your side? What are you, an idiot? So it's up to us, plain and simple. But now that we have this number, I knew there's a lot of people ticked off, and I knew there's a lot of people negatively impacted. Why is the distribution rate so much higher in rural Ontario? Simple. They want you out of rural Ontario. It's called part of the rewilding program. It's all connected, people. All of this is connected. These guys just got a big chalkboard somewhere, and they're just drawing lines on it. What if we do this? That's a good idea. Okay, that's a wonderful idea. We get cash flow out of it. We can give some of it to the so-called government, and they'll play with it. But the fact that really bothers me, I think, more than anything else, is we have these newspapers and TV stations and radio stations going, oh my God, what are we going to do? What a ripoff. 60,000 people have been negatively impacted. Well, we've all been negatively impacted, but 60,000 people have had their power cut off. And other people had to donate like $1 million just to try to keep these people's lights on. And who's reporting this? The same freaking media that met with Ken Lay and Ali Dadson and the ministers and that to go over the talking points in order to sell the fraud. Now, those same newspapers, some of those same writers are going, well, this is wrong. I mean, what the hell? All involved in it. All involved in it. They've been so snookered, it's ridiculous. So like I said, I've been saying for quite some time now, a lot of people, I've had people say, why don't we just go down and shoot them all? Well, that ain't going to work. Why don't we just go to the courthouse and arrest them all? Well, that ain't going to work. All right? They didn't get us here overnight. We ain't going to get it fixed overnight. We are going to get it fixed. Make no mistake about that. And I've said this multiple times. I feel like George Bush sometimes, He says, we got to keep repeating the propaganda. We got to keep throwing it out there. Got to keep throwing it out there so it gets in your brain. That's what we do. That's our job. I'm a little puppet. My name's George. But he was exactly right. I mean, that was one moment of truth that came out of a politician's face at that town hall meeting. But the fact is that these people have hurt you. And one of my favorite quotes of all time was a quote that came out of Rockefeller's face in 1999. I think it was a place, Baden-Baden, Germany or some freaking thing. When he said, our window of opportunity has already begun to close. Meaning, the global warming scam is going to fall apart. Now, when they really were pushing it, it was hot. It was damn hot. It was ridiculously hot. I remember dragging my guys off construction sites at noon. People were getting sick and passing out. It was that friggin' hot. It was ridiculous. But that's because we had a solar maximum and we had the ocean currents all at the same time. It exasperated natural heating, natural cycle. Now, these guys know these cycles. And they know when the propaganda's got a hit. They know when they're going to drag Al Gore out there and put him on the stage. Okay? They only got a window in each part of this because nothing what they're doing is based on reality. It's based on reality, but they're using the reality to perpetrate a fraud. But cycles change. And it has changed. So anyways, their window of opportunity had already begun to close in 99, his statement, and that made me very happy when I first ran across that, because that meant they're going to have to push harder, faster, they're going to make a lot of mistakes, they're going to piss a lot of people off. They cannot continue to do it incrementally. Even the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario now, Elizabeth Dowdeswell, said in a video, she's sick and tired, and she was the head of UNEP. Okay? She was the head of UNEP after Maurice Strong. She wrote the second forward on local Agenda 21, how to implement Agenda 21. And now she's sitting in place of Queen in Ontario, signing the legislature off to send it on up to the Queen. Duh. And you say, well, I want to talk to you about Agenda 21. I don't know nothing about that. You can phone the Lieutenant Governor's office and say, I see you're implementing Agenda 21. Never heard of it. Yet she wrote the second forward, first forward by Maurice Strong. Get some hemp rope. You don't have a government. You've never had a government. We desperately need a government. Desperately need a government, and we desperately need law. We have no law in this country, nor does the United States have any law. It is all administrative law, which is color of and force of law. It is not law. Our countries are corporations. The administrative law is the law, the bylaws, rules, regulations, statutes of the corporation. It is as far away from the meaning of law as you can possibly get. So, what do we need in this country? What do my friends in America need? We need, first and foremost, we need government. That's numero uno. And then we need law. Because without government, without law, well, this is what you get. Then you're a plantation slave. It's as simple as that. There's no other way to describe it. You're a plantation slave. You're a corporate slave. And the sad part is, this particular corporation, you can't get pissed off and quit the way they got it set up. You're going to say, I had it with this job. I quit. No, we'll go work somewhere else. No. We're a corporation, but we're also the plantation. Okay? And through a little trickery, a little seduction, a little coercion, we conned your mama into signing you over to us. And we made another one of you. And we made you, while separate, this is the dumbest statement I ever heard in my life. Separate yet indivisible. What kind of a jack? Only a lawyer would come up with something like that. Separate yet indivisible. Well, if you're separate, you're separate. If you're indivisible, you can't be separate. Separate yet indivisible. So they tied you to the corporation, not as an employee, but as an asset. A chunk of rock, a tree, some water. You're an asset. But not only are you an asset, they took the two pieces. The one's an asset, a financial instrument, and the other, which is you, the man or woman, who are supposed to be separate. Unfortunately, you're indivisible. You're the one that offered up your labor. You're the one that has agreed somehow through this divisible, indivisible, separate nonsense that you'll pick up the tab for the corporation's debts. So it's not like you went somewhere and said, are you hiring? It's like someone come and lied to your mother and said, sign here, we'd like to use your daughter or son as some surety for our debt and an asset that we can borrow against. And if you'll sign here, why, you could get the baby bonus check. And as a bonus today only, public education, where your child will spend many years in the public education system, where who will drive needles into his arm as time goes by, more and more needles. And we will stupefy your child to the point where they can't even barely tie their own damn shoes. And then we'll give them a diploma for it. Sign here, Mama. And your mama signed. And you was assigned. And you are assigned to the plantation. And as long as we are on this corporate plantation, nothing good's going to come about. It's just the way it is. And we got to get some law back. If we fail to do these two things, then we have failed. And whose fault is our failure? Is it Justin Trudeau's fault? Is it Stephen Harper's fault? Morris Strong's fault? Is it Rockefeller's fault? Is it Hillary's fault? Obama's fault? Trump's fault? And I can't forget this guy. I just loved it. And I don't pay any attention to politics as a rule, but I just love this. You know, here's this socialist jackass and all these people holding up their signs. Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. I mean, that just busts me up every time I even think about it. The fact remains is you are not in control of your life. You have no control over you may think you got control over your life, but trust me, you got no control over your life. And there's no law. You know, I had a friend call me, and we were talking about, he called me last night, I guess he called me not that long before I went on air last night. And he was a what's the word? I had it and I lost it again. He was what the hell do you call those people? They're not lawyers. They do traffic tickets if that's for people. Anyways, whatever they're called. You know, when we've been going through some stuff and that book, The New Despotism, and some other documents and about administrative law and that. And paralegal, that's what he was for 20 years. And he'd always playing devil's advocate with me, right? You know, because he understands process. He understands the legal system, but he understood that to be law. And so now that he's been reading about administrative law and that, when I was talking to him before the show last night, he goes, this is all administrative law, exactly, which is corporate law, exactly, which means it's unlawful, exactly, finally, you get it, okay? The legal system is a system of outlawry. It is as far away from law as you can possibly get. So how are you going to solve the problems of your nation as a slave on a plantation? Which means if you're going to be free, if you're going to have a future, if the people are going to have a future, we need government. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm not a libertarian. I'm a libertarian. No, I'm not even libertarian. The fact is you need government. Okay? But not this right-left crap. You know, that's the most retarded thing I've ever seen in my life. You know, when I ran in the 2007 election, I think it was, I was explaining, you know, what government needs to look like. You don't send down party representatives, vote for this party representative or that party representative, because they got no say anyways, okay? They're just numbers. They're bringing numbers to the party, okay? The only people in the party that have any say on anything, for all intents and purposes, are those in the so-called cabinet, which is the boardroom. So you got all these people that got voted, and you have this little core of people, the kind of people that would be hanging out with a guy like Ken Lay. Okay? And the CEO is your president, your prime minister, and those in charge of the ministries or the different departments or the board of directors. The other people you voted for don't have a clue what's going on. So when you vote for these people, you're cutting your own throat. So how are you going to set up a government that actually works? Well, it's actually very simple, and is what I explained on the radio, on Real Radio. That's not real radio, fake radio. This is real radio. What the hell am I thinking? On the fake radio, the mainstream radio, when I was running in the election, I said, this don't work. Okay, it's divide and conquer. It's two sides fighting against each other. So you want to set up, you don't have sides of the house. You have a house. And you have a kitchen table where you all sit around the table and you discuss the situation. So there's no parties. We got to get rid of parties. Parties have been a huge problem, a huge deception. What we got to do is set up a system where wherever you may live, your job is to go into your, I hate the word community, but into your people, your neighborhood, whatever you want to call it, and select who you believe is the best man or woman to represent the wants and needs of that particular geographical area, if you will. No parties. Go find who you think is the best man or woman who has your interests at heart, and send them down to the kitchen table. With the understanding, because there's always, that was the impressive part about the way the United States set up their government down there, was that it was supposed to have so many checks and balances in it, nothing dumb could happen. You couldn't get hold of it, although you were warned they were going to get a hold of it if you didn't pay attention. But from the very first, and I don't recall what the first one was, it probably had something to do with a war or something, but the first executive order by a president was the end of this so-called checks and balances. As long as there's a thing where one man or one woman can veto or pass whatever the hell they want through executive order, well, you got yourself a king or queen, don't you? So the difference between Canada and the United States is nil. Absolutely freaking nil. We're still ruled by Britannia. We ain't never been sovereign nations. We're just a bunch of corporations. But you send your best to the table with the understanding that we're going to be watching your ass. And if your ass ain't doing it, if it gets out of line and somebody's trying to grease your palm in that, you're out of there that fast. And then we will send someone down, someone else down. But the idea is that we operate as a nation for the betterment of the people, not some dumbass corporation that wants to come in, be an insurance company or whatever, who greases the palm of the so-called government with a plan that gives the government another revenue stream while enriching the corporation that brought the proposal forward. That's got to stop. There is absolutely no excuse in this nation or America or any other nation that the people do not have proper, complete healthcare system that works for the people. There is no excuse not to have such a thing. This idea that people work their whole lives in America busting their tail to hang on to their middle class status, and somebody in the family gets sick, and because of this or that, maybe you got sick on a Tuesday and your insurance company doesn't cover you for that particular instance of whatever you got on that particular hour of that particular Tuesday, and therefore your claim is no good, and now all of a sudden everything you worked for yourself and your families all your lives is gone in order to save your loved one's life. Stress like that should never be forked on anybody's back. That's what neighborhoods are about. That's what families are about. To come and help. These are pirates looking to steal from you at your most vulnerable times. And that's what they've been doing, and it has got to stop. We have to start an education system. A real education system, one that offers knowledge, not training in submission to authority. It's not an education system. It's how to get you working on the plantation without complaining too much. It's very simple to set up a government that works. Can you fix this system? It was broken when it was set up. It was set up the way it's set up to keep you on the plantation, to keep you arguing amongst yourselves, to keep you looking for a hero to come and fix things. You're the hero. You're the hero. You're the one that's responsible. We got to get back to neighborhood thinking. You're looking for a corporation who's only, and corporations are amoral. So you got this amoral group that you're going to looking for benefits. The judicial system is amoral. It's an adversarial. The first time I looked up adversary and saw the word Satan sitting there, I went, well, now this is starting to make some serious sense. Nothing that is running on our lands as far as this so-called judiciary and the so-called government is legitimate. None of it is. You can vote for all the Trumps and all the Clintons and all the Obamas, and you can vote for the Jolly Green Giant if you want. Nothing's going to change. They're all beholden to somebody other than those who supposedly voted. So you're never going to get the outcome you're looking for. Ever. So we have to roll up our sleeves and we need to go to work. And we need to change this out. Now, having said that, I'm going to say something. You're going to say, well, isn't he contradicting himself? No, I'm not. Wherever you live, and I'm more serious about this than I have ever been, because now we have this influx of migrants. And I'll guarantee you these migrants are going to be running for local seats on your local councils. And if they get a hold of those seats, you're way screwed. We need to do that. Is it a workable system? No, it is not a workable system. But we need to get a hold of it. To put the brakes on, to show the people that elect us into these local offices, these local councils, that there's somebody that actually gives a damn about them. Everybody is so freaking lethargic, it's nuts. Heard every excuse in the book why somebody can't run for local council. There are no excuses why you can't run for the local council. There are no excuses. If you can make an excuse, well, you can't put $100 down and run for local council, then you need to put your address up somewhere that everybody can find it, so that if you don't do it, we can all come down and give you a little slap up the back of the head, because you deserve one. And you got no right to complain about nothing. So if you ain't prepared to go and try and do something, then just shut up, go sit in your closet and watch TV until you die. Your kind we don't need. We need people that have the capacity to step up to the plate. Ain't much of a plate to step up to. Put your $100 down, you run. And you say, well, if I get in, I've got no say. That's exactly right. That's why we have to go in there with the attitude that we're going in there to get majority vote. Therefore, we need to run as many people as we possibly can run. Now, if you live in a community with 10,000 people, and you telling me you can't get 20 or 30 of them to run, well, that pretty much tells you how bad the problem is, doesn't it? Now, here in Ontario, the next local elections are in 2018. Okay? So you got lots and lots and lots of time to get your act together, to get your people together, and to write down all the excuses and then write in the other column why that's really not an excuse after all. And to commit yourself. Because I'll guarantee you, all you got to do is looking around, okay? We got a Muslim mayor of London. We've got a Muslim mayor in Calgary. We've got these people. We've got ragheads running our military. And how did this happen? They ran an election. Okay? Now this is going to start to fill up. The color of your elected bodies is about to change drastically here. Okay? The background of who's in here, these are basically, you look at them as interlopers coming in, and we're just handing it to them. Well, I'm too busy to run for a local election. I wouldn't know what to say. Then we get exactly what we frickin' well deserve. And that would be really sad if that's the outcome. And that's our demise. That's really freaking sad. Anyways, I see we're running out of time here. Oh, that one, I've just been babbling away here for 2 solid hours. My goodness. Anyways, Hal's up at 3. And a shout out to Clint. I see I got a Skype. Yes, I did record it. Yes, I will get it sent to you, the show that Clint did. I've been extremely busy. I've been trying to get away from this damn computer as much as I can, and it's not working. And I'm trying to get a car rebuilt here at the same time. So I will get it out to you, Clint. I will try. Tomorrow's a holiday. I will, don't get it out today. I will get it in your hands tomorrow. I appreciate your patience, and I really appreciate you doing the show. I'd really like to do a show with a whole bunch of you guys. You know, we'll get everybody together here and hack it out. You know, maybe we'll end up each learning something from each other. I want to wish everybody the best long weekend. Everybody play hard, stay safe, enjoy it. And we'll be back, I guess, on Tuesday night, 7, 8 o'clock. Take care, everybody, and have a wonderful week. We're out.